All right, hello, internet friends, and welcome into the official Talking Sports at Work Mock Draft 2.0. So this is honestly my third try. Things keep screwing up, but we're going to roll through it and hope that this works out. I'm also going to try to run through it pretty quickly because I know I can get wordy and ramble, but we're going to try to do the entirety of the first round in this draft. Also, by the way, you might hear it in the background. It's Nirvana is playing, and today is 30 years since Kurt Cobain died. I just have to mention that because it blows my mind. And it also just reminds me of how old I am. But it doesn't matter if it's playing in the background, I don't think, because A, you might not be able to hear it, and B, not enough people actually pay attention to this for me to get in trouble for it. So, who cares? Now, moving on to football stuff. Let's get rolling with our mock draft, round one. Now, we know what's going to happen at pick number 1, so there's really no point in even diving into that too much. Caleb Williams at number 1 to the Chicago Bears. It's a slam dunk pick. I don't think he's the overall, can't miss, but he's close to it. A lot of people think that he is. I don't put him quite on that level, but he's close to it, and don't overthink it. At number 2, I think this is the way I think it's going to happen. I think the Commanders are going to go Jaden Daniels. I believe that Drake May is the better prospect, but they seem, for everything we've been hearing really for the last month, all indications are pointing Jaden Daniels, including the Cliff Kingsbury hire. It seems like he would fit better in that offense. And just everything we've been hearing for a while now, it seemed to point that direction. And it's not just smoke. We've been hearing a lot of this stuff from a lot of sources. And yeah, and I mean, it's not like it's a bad pick. He's a good player and could work out really well for him. Now, at number 3, I think the Patriots are really happy because they get Drake May in this situation. A lot of talk about them possibly trading back. Now, if it works out this way and they don't like Drake May, then yeah, they might trade back here. Or if the Commanders take May and they don't like Daniels, then they might trade back. But in this situation, I think they should be thrilled. I think they should just run that card on up there and move on. And go with this guy as the quarterback of the future. And, unfortunately for him, he's going to spend the entirety of his career being compared to Tom Brady. But, you know what? He'll be better than at least the last one they had in there, Mac Jones, who I said they should not have drafted. But anyway, that's another topic. At number 4, same kind of thing. Don't overthink this. Marvin Harrison Jr. is a generational talent, and I do not use that word lightly. It's a very overused term in sports stuff, but he is that at the wide receiver position. I've heard a lot of people starting to put Neighbors on that level or ahead of him. I don't agree with that. I think it's just because we've seen more of Neighbors lately. He's been doing the pro day stuff. He's been doing, all the workouts and everything, whereas Harrison's just kind of sat back and said, I don't need to do that shit, and he doesn't. So, yeah, Marvin Harrison Jr. to the Cardinals, and they should be thrilled. Kyler Murray should be thrilled with that. Now, at number 5, things get interesting. Now, I normally, on my last mock draft, I said I don't do trades, and I don't early on. But now that free agency's happened and we're really getting close to it, I think we can more accurately predict some possible trades. And this is one that I've got here. I've got the Minnesota Vikings trading up to take J.J. McCarthy. He's another guy that I don't love, but I could see him working out with Kevin O'Connell. I think Kevin O'Connell is a great offensive mind. I really, really like him as a coach. And I think McCarthy's good enough that he could be, everything they had with Kirk Cousins, except younger, more athletic, and a little better. So I think this would be a great pick. Now, in this trade, they would have to give up 11. They would give up 23, as well as probably a first-round pick next year as well. But for them to, if he works out, nobody's going to care, and it's going to be totally worth it. And the Chargers are happy. They're going to load up on picks. Now, at number 6, the Giants. Now, the reason I think that the Vikings make that trade right there is because the one team that's here in this group that they would be afraid of possibly taking a quarterback is the Giants. So they want to jump ahead of them. I don't think the Giants would, but maybe if he's still sitting there, they might. But in this scenario, McCarthy's gone. They take Malik Neighbors, who is close to that top elite tier, who is in most drafts, he would be the number 1 receiver. Just so happens to have Marvin Harrison Jr. in this one, but I do think Malik Neighbors is pretty close to a can't miss, and they got to be happy with that. Now, my Tennessee Titans are also happy in this scenario because we get the guy we want all along, and that's Joe Alt, an anchor, a solid, pro-ready, almost can't miss all-pro level tackle who's only 21 years old, who's going to be, you think, a fixture, an anchor of this offensive line for the next 10 to 12 years, and we are thrilled with this. So I love this pick. I hope this works out this way, and that's all I got to say about that. Now, you may notice a trend here. So far, no defensive players taken. Well, let's move to the Falcons. They're happy about that because they're going to get the guy that I believe is the best edge rusher in this draft, and that's Dallas Turner. I know people say he's not quite as good as Will Anderson. I don't think he's that far off, though. I really don't. I think he can be that good. And the Falcons would be happy to get the best defensive player on the board at number 8. Now, at number 9, the Bears, with their second pick, will take, well, you guys get to see 2 in a row. Anyway, the Bears get Rome Odunze there. I think they're happy with that. And, you get a weapon for your brand new quarterback. I'm not as big of a fan of Odunze as many people are, but I do think that he's top, this is likely to be the way it goes. I've got him more as like a mid to late round pick, but I can definitely see this happening, and I would not be upset with it. And then at 10, I think the Jets are very happy as well because they get somebody that they can put there to protect Aaron Rodgers, because that's what it's all about in New York. That's the only thing that matters. He runs the entire world as far as the Jets go. They get somebody who is a blue chip prospect who might have some questions. He was the consensus number 1 tackle going into the draft as of like 2 or 3 months ago. Joe Alt has surpassed him as we've done more of the workouts and dug deeper into things, but he's still a top 10 level player and a blue chip, definite good offensive tackle and an anchor there on that side. Now, we move on to the next ones. And we have the Chargers now. With their trade with the Vikings, they are picking 11th, and I think they get the guy that is somebody they might have wanted all along anyway, and that's another generational talent at the position. Again, overused word, but it applies here. Brock Bowers, I think, is the best tight end I've seen in a long time. I think he's better than Kyle Pitts. I think he's better than Hawkinson. I think he is like a Gronk level tight end, and I think that Jim Harbaugh would be thrilled to bring in a guy like that with his first pick in LA. So yeah, that's it. And now I think that the Denver Broncos and Sean Payton would be pretty happy with the draft board shaking out this way as well, because they would get Bo Nix in this scenario. Now, Bo Nix is a guy I'm not big on. I never have been. I felt like if he was going to go pro and was really going to be a good quarterback in the NFL, he would have gone a couple of years ago. He's been eligible for a while, but he finally had the success there at Oregon and has put himself into that first-round quarterback category. And if there is a place where he would fit with a coach he would fit, it would be Denver. This is the kind of scenario where he could be successful. He's got that mind for it. He's got that accuracy. Doesn't have the wow you arm, but he can be, I'm not saying he's Drew Brees, but he can make all those checks and do all those things that are necessary in the Sean Payton offense, the kind of things that Russell Wilson just was not able to do. Bo Nix, I think, would be able to do that. So I think that's a good fit for them. Now, another interesting thing happened. Trade alert. This one, I kind of messed around with because I'm thinking 11, 12, 13, that's where these teams are quarterback needy beyond those first three. You've got the Vikings, the Broncos, and the Raiders. And I've got the Vikings trading up to get that fourth quarterback. I've got the Broncos staying and getting their guy there at 12. At 13, I think the Raiders are going to be happily taking calls, thinking, you know what? The best quarterbacks are off the board. Let's see what we can get, and let's try to rebuild this roster a little bit. And the Lions, we know they can be aggressive when it comes to making moves and making draft picks. And Latu, a lot of people have as the best edge rusher in this draft. I've said I think Dallas Turner's better, but I don't think there's much of a gap. Latu is a very good player, and if you think he's the best edge rusher in this draft, and you want to move up to get him, I would not be shocked. I would not be mad at you. Now, it's going to cost a bit because that's moving up 16 spots. And in this trade, I don't remember exactly what I did in my little mock draft that I did, but I had them giving up, they gave up 29, and then I think I might have had to give up their second round pick as well. So they'd give a 1 and a 2, which is a late second round pick. You know, it's the 29th pick probably in the second round. But I think to get the best edge rusher in the draft, if that's what you believe he is, I think that's probably worth it for a team that's in win now mode. So I've got the Lions making that deal, and the Raiders happy to trade back. They missed out on all the quarterbacks, but they're going to acquire some more draft capital and be able to build their roster. Now, moving on to the Saints at 14. Talise Fuaga. We've got another tackle. This is tackle number 3 going. He is, tackle number 3 on most people's boards, right? And the Saints, it's a need for them. Trevor Penning's not really working out the way they hoped, and they need help on that offensive line. They need help with a lot of positions, but I think this is kind of a need versus best player available situation, and they go with him here. Now, the Colts, I think, are happy here because their probably top need is corner, and the best one in the draft is sitting right there for him at 15. Terrion Arnold out of Alabama. I don't think they overthink this one. I think they take the guy that makes sense, and they're happy about it. At 16, pretty much most mock drafts I've seen have this same thing, have Troy Fontano, however you say it, not even leaving Washington, getting to stay home and just move buildings. He can play tackle. Well, most people have him moving inside the guard, and that's where probably Seattle would want him to start out anyway. And I think this just makes sense. So him going there, staying home, and going to the Seahawks at 16. At 17, the Jaguars, another AFC South team that also needs help in the secondary, especially, now that the Titans are beefing up that secondary with L'Jarius Sneed and Adobe Chiwueze. It's going to be a very interesting. This is a division on the rise for sure, and I'm very excited about it. But they go ahead and they take a guy who is just like 1B when it comes to top corner in the draft. Some people have Mitchell ahead of Arnold. I think the consensus is Arnold's a little better, but it's close. And so I think the Jags would be happy with this. At 18, you've got the Bengals and the big guy finally going. Now, this is one I could see him going higher, especially given that this is a position that has just grown in value and importance over the last several years with, what Aaron Donald has done, what Jeffrey Simmons and Chris Jones, these elite interior guys, what they've shown they can do creating pressure up the middle. It's very, very important. And so I could see him going earlier than this, but at 18, I think the Bengals would be thrilled given that they just lost DJ Reader. They get a big, massive, athletic, strong, really good all-around player, good at getting after the quarterback from the interior, good at stopping the run. I think they're happy here. Now at 19, we've got the Rams also very happy here because Jared Verse is the number 3 guy who could be the best edge rusher. It's really like those 3, and you hear different opinions. Like I've said, I think it's Turner. Some people think it's Latu. Some people think it's Verse. So I think the Rams would be very happy to take him here, put him on the other side of Byron Young, who I love. I'm so proud of him. So happy in my Vol, who's a former Dollar General assistant manager, as we all know his story. But put Jared Verse on the other side. They've got to do all that they can to try to replace Aaron Donald. Now, of course, you can't do that with just one guy, but they've got to try to beef up that pass rush, and I think this is a great way to start doing that. And this is also their first-round pick, I think, since Jared Goff. They've just traded away picks. We all know that, but I'm not going to get off topic here. Going to the Steelers at number 20. Another tackle now off the board. That's what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 if you count Fontananu, whatever. Amarius Mims out of Georgia. He is a guy who could come in right away and play right tackle on the other side of Broderick Jones, who they drafted in the first round last year. I think it's a perfect fit for them. I think he's a very good player and has the potential to be like a really solid right away starting right tackle in the league. I think this is a good pick for them. Now, moving on to the next section, we've got the Miami Dolphins at 21, and we're going to keep this train rolling with another tackle. This draft is one of the best I can remember when it comes to offensive line talent, which is great for my Titans. There's just so much offensive line talent towards the top, like in the first 2 rounds of this draft. And I think teams are going to jump on it. And one of those would be the Dolphins, who just lost Robert Hunt. They lost a couple of guys. They lost a couple guards, but they need help in a few positions on that offensive line. Latham's a guy who also played on the right side, but he has versatility. I think he'd be a good fit there, and I think they'd be happy with him. Now, this one I'm really interested in. I like this pick. A lot of people would say it's a reach, but I think it would be perfect for them, and I haven't seen it in any mock drafts. It was just something I thought would be good. Edgerrin Cooper. Honestly, I thought Peyton Wilson at first because I love him. I hope it would be great if the Titans somehow ended up with him, but I know we won't. But Edgerrin Cooper is just a beast. He is an all-around, like, Roquan Smith caliber linebacker and modern NFL linebacker. And that's, I know, high to take a linebacker. No, you don't often see them in the first round nowadays, but he is a first-round talent, and they have a need there, and they have needs along that in a lot of areas on that defense. In the secondary, I know people would say that's a bigger need, but they need a guy who can come in and set the tone for that defense because they've got talent really still, but they just lost their way. I mean, they just fell apart. Edgerrin Cooper is a guy who could come in and be the captain, be the tone setter, be the guy, even as a rookie on that defense. We know they've got the talent on along the front. Now you've got a guy back here who can be your defensive quarterback, who can lead the show. I think this would be a great pick for them, but yeah, we'll see. I like it. Now at 23, we have the Chargers, and they are taking Brian Thomas. This is the other pick that they got in that Minnesota trade, and they're going with more weapons for Justin Herbert, which is just the smartest thing they could do, really, I think. I know that there are a lot of needs on this team, but Brian Thomas is another guy that's a first-round receiver. I've heard people say that the combination of him and the other one, Neighbors, is maybe a better combination than what LSU had, even with Odell and I think my kids are here. All right, kids, I'm going to have to pause for a minute. We're going to stop at, hey, buddy boy, you want to come say hi?
Hey, guys.
Hey, guys, we're doing our mock draft. So my kids just arrived, so I'm going to have to pause real quick, and I will be back in a moment. We'll wrap things up. All right, hey friends, welcome back. Sorry about that. So, we were on the Chargers at 23. My kids are home now, so there's Sissy Belle, and there's Arlo and Jackie. You saw Jackie a minute ago. There's Arlo. And so, finishing up, we are at Dallas at number 24, and they are taking Tyler Guyton. That is, I lost count, but that's what, let's see. How many was that? That was 5 or 6 tackles. And again, this is just a tackle. This is an offensive line heavy first round. And all of these guys are like starter caliber. They're between blue chip, can't miss, all pro level guys at Joe Alt and Fashanu to, possible Pro Bowl players with Mims and Latham to likely starters with Guyton. And the Cowboys need to replace Tyron Smith, although I think they're going to put Tyler Smith back out there. That's his natural position anyways, left tackle, but Guyton can play on the right side. He's another versatile guy, so I think it's a good pick for them. Now, at 25, this is one I actually had as one thing, and I changed it. I had them going guard, but it just didn't make sense to me, and so I changed it, and I went with Nate Wiggins. That just made sense to me. They need help at that position. It's a big need for them, and he's a good player, and it feels like he's too good to not be in the first round. So I just think the Packers, that would make so much sense for them to take him there at 25. Now, at 26, the Buccaneers, another one that I don't think is going to make it out of the first round, is Chop Robinson. He's a guy who has all the talent, has all the potential. Don't know if he's put it all together yet, but he can in the right place, and he could be as good as those other guys. But as far as a prospect, I think he's just like a tier below the Dallas Turners and Latu and Verse. But he can be every bit as good as those guys if he can put it all together, and I think it's a good pick for them at 26. 27, the Arizona Cardinals, with another first-round pick, are going to take Jerzon Newton, another interior defensive lineman, the second one off the board in the first round. And again, this is a position that has just increased in value. A lot of people have him as the number 1 interior defensive lineman on the board. So if he's still there at 27, I think they'd be thrilled. It's a need for them, and he's a guy who can come in and wreck games if he reaches his potential, and at 27, he might be a steal. At 28, we know what the Buffalo Bills need now. I mean, they traded Stephon Diggs. Gabe Davis left in free agency, so they're going to go Adonai Mitchell. I think he is the better of the 2 Texas receivers. Xavier Worthy wowed everybody, of course, with breaking the record, but we know that running a record level 40 time does not always equate to success. In fact, it rarely does. That's not saying anything necessarily about him that he won't, but I think Adonai Mitchell is a complete, really good wide receiver. And I kind of debated between, I actually like Keon Coleman better, but I think Mitchell would fit better with the Bills with his combination of speed, and I think he would just be a really good fit, and I think Josh Allen would love to have him there at 28. Now, at 29, this is where the Raiders traded back. They got a lot out of that trade with the Lions for them to move back 16 spots, and then they still get the guy they wanted, which is Michael Penix Jr. I like Michael Penix. I actually like him better than Bo Nix. The big questions I think about him are still the medical aspects. He's been able to stay healthy for the last 2 years, but he wasn't able to stay healthy when he was at Indiana. He kept getting hurt. He was actually recruited at Tennessee and wanted to go to Tennessee, but that's a whole other story. Jeremy Pruitt's staff ruined that. Michael Penix at 29, I think the Raiders would have played this perfectly if that's how it works out. They rack up with an extra second-round pick, and they still get the guy they wanted, get their quarterback. He's a lefty, so that's going to make things, that adds in elements to it. But I think he would just really look good as a Raider, too. I think that would just be a cool fit for him. Now at 30, the Baltimore Ravens, Kingsley Suamataitaiva, whatever. He seems like a good fit there. It's another offensive lineman. It's a position of need for the Ravens, and he just seems to fit with the Ravens. I like this guy. I've seen him on some big boards ranked as high as like the 3rd best tackle on the board, so they might get a steal here. That's what Sissy thinks about it, apparently. 31. This is another one I debated about and went a few different ways before I finally settled on Jordan Morgan, another tackle, another guy who's right there in that same level with Guyton and Sua Matata and Hakuna Matata, and those guys who can be really good players and come in and start right away. He's a guy who could be the heir apparent to Trent Williams on the left side, but he's versatile enough to come in and play on the right side, or even if they want him to play guard at first, he can be a day 1 starter for them at guard or right tackle, and then hopefully be the heir apparent to Trent Williams. And if they really are able to get that at 31, I think the Niners would be happy. Now with the final pick of the first round, the Kansas City Chiefs get the guy I mentioned earlier, and that's Keon Coleman. I really like him. I think he's fallen down draft boards over the last couple of months, but I think he's really every bit as good as Odunze and Brian Thomas. I really like Keon Coleman, and I think the Chiefs would be thrilled with him. Now, we know he's, a bigger guy. He's more of a, they think of him as like a jump ball guy. I think that's why he's fallen, because people aren't seeing him as a speedy guy, and they think of him more as a big body. But he is a complete receiver, and I think the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes would be thrilled to find him here at 32. So that's all we've got. I got to start doing stuff with my kids. They got home tonight. We're going to have some fun and take some baths. You about ready to take a bath? She can't hear me. She's got her headphones on. So that's it. Only 6 rounds to go. I'm not going to mock all 6 rounds. But anyway, do you guys want to say bye? You want to come over here and say bye to the internet people before I end it? Jack.
Bye, guys.
Jack.
See you later, probably.
Jack. He can't hear me, can he? Jack. I know you can hear me. Say bye, everybody. Come here. Jack doesn't want to say bye. All right, friends. We'll see you later. Thanks for watching. Oh, Jack's coming. Tell him to like it and subscribe to it and watch all our silly videos.
Like it and subscribe it and watch all our silly videos.
All right, friends. We'll see you later. Like this.
Like apple.
Apple to apple.
Apple. See you later. Ah.